The divisional round games of the NFL playoffs take place this weekend, as 8 football teams remain in the hunt for a Super Bowl. And 2 of those teams reside in the DMV, as they each prepare to go on the road and keep their seasons alive on Saturday and Sunday. In the NFC, the Washington Commanders and their rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels continue to be one of the top stories of this NFL season. After going a surprising 12-5 during the regular season, Daniels and the Commanders went on the road in the wild card round and defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20, with Commanders kicker Zane Gonzalez kicking the game-winning field goal that pushed them into the next round. Now waiting for Washington in the divisional round are the number 1 seeded Detroit Lions, who will host Saturday night's game between the two squads. And in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens, fresh off of a relatively easy victory at home over their division rivals the Pittsburgh Steelers, will make the trip up to Buffalo to face the Bills on Sunday. It will be a matchup between 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and the 2 presumptive leaders in the regular season MVP race as Baltimore's Lamar Jackson and Buffalo's Josh Allen lead their teams out onto the field in hopes of advancing to the AFC Championship game. The Ravens-Bills matchup is certainly this weekend's marquee game, as all eyes will be on the 2 star QBs. Local football fans in the Maryland, Virginia and Washington, D.C. area are preparing for another exciting round of playoff football. Here is what you need to know for this weekend's NFL playoff games for the Washington Commanders and Baltimore Ravens. There haven't been too many NFL divisional round matchups like the final game of this weekend. It starts with the quarterback battle. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson will almost certainly finish 1-2 in the NFL MVP voting, but we can't be sure which one will win the award. That's rare. It makes their divisional round showdown even more dramatic. The teams also are on a similar chase. The Kansas City Chiefs are in the middle of a dynasty, meaning the Bills and Ravens have found Super Bowl trips hard to come by. The Bills haven't been to the Super Bowl since the 1993 season and have never won one. The Ravens' last trip was 2012, well before the Jackson era started. The Bills opened up as 1.5-point favorites, but a majority of the early bets coming in on the Ravens caused BetMGM to move the line to favor the Ravens by a point. If the Ravens remain favored at kickoff, it will be the first time the Bills have ever been a home underdog in the playoffs. The total for the game is 51.5. The Ravens have a fantastic offense with or without Zay Flowers. But to go on the road and beat a very good Bills team, Flowers' return might be a key. Flowers injured his knee in Week 18 and missed last week's wildcard game. Ravens coach John Harbaugh opened the week by saying they're in wait-and-see mode on Flowers' availability. Flowers was by far the Ravens' leader in receptions, 74, and receiving yards, 1,059, in the regular season. The Bills and Ravens are so evenly matched, taking a Pro Bowl receiver out of the lineup for Baltimore could be the difference. And even if Flowers is active, the Ravens will have to figure out if he's close to full health. Week 4 seems like a long time ago. Back then, the Ravens easily beat the Bills, 35-10. Derrick Henry took the Ravens' first offensive play 87 yards for a touchdown. Henry dominated that game with 199 yards. Lamar Jackson attempted only 18 passes, though he had 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Ravens are unlikely to have it that easy this time around. Still, the Ravens will try to run it against a Bills defense that was pretty good in that area. They allowed 271 rushing yards to the Ravens and didn't allow more than 153 rushing yards in any other game. The Ravens can rely on Jackson to pass it often if needed, but part of the reason they brought in Henry was to take pressure off Jackson in the postseason. And it will be cold in Buffalo on Sunday. There's a low temperature of 11 degrees in the forecast. Sounds like a good idea to pound it on the ground with the run game. It's funny, both teams have MVP-level quarterbacks, but they also would be happy to keep it on the ground. At some point though, the Bills will look to Josh Allen to make some superhero plays. He usually comes through on that request. He did struggle in the first game against the Ravens though, completing just 16 of 29 passes for 180 yards and no touchdowns. He was also sacked 3 times, including a strip sack by Kyle Van Noy that the Ravens recovered, and only rushed for 21 yards. The Ravens' pass defense did a 180 from its early season struggles, allowing 202 or fewer passing yards in 8 of its last 9 regular season games. Teams had a much tougher time getting big pass plays downfield against the Ravens' defense late in the season. If the Bills are going to win, they'll need to find a way to generate some explosive plays in the pass game. They have the right quarterback for it. If you play this game 100 times, each side might win 50. It's a fantastic, even matchup between 2 teams with great quarterbacks and other similar strengths. Though the regular season matchup was a long time ago and it seems unlikely that it will mirror what we see on Sunday night, it's hard to ignore that the Ravens absolutely dominated the Bills. They outgained Buffalo 427-236. It was the only time the Bills lost by more than one score all season, and they lost it by 25. It's one of only 3 times since Allen's rookie season of 2018 that the Bills have lost by 20 or more. Does that matter for the rematch? We'll find out on Sunday night. We might look up in a few weeks and realize the Ravens were the best team in football all along. Ravens 28, Bills 27. The AFC divisional matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and Buffalo Bills is set to take place under frigid conditions at Highmark Stadium on Sunday. With a forecasted temperature of 17 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff and wind chills making it feel as low as 4 degrees, it will mark the coldest game in the careers of both Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and team top rusher Derrick Henry. The icy weather will greet fans as early as 10 a.m. during tailgating hours when temperatures are expected to hover around 18 degrees. As the game progresses, the temps will dip further, possibly reaching single digits by the final whistle around 10 p.m. For Jackson, the cold is no stranger, though this will be his most frigid game yet. His previous coldest game was a 27-degree showdown in Kansas City during the 2018 season, where the Ravens fell to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in a 27-24 overtime nail-biter. In his career, Jackson has excelled in games below 36 degrees with an 8-2 record in frigid conditions. The two-time MVP made it clear that gloves won't be part of his wardrobe for Sunday, stating, "I tried that in practice, and I was horrible. I'll leave that up to Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Bridgewater. Shout out to Teddy," he said. Jackson added that the team's equipment staff is prepared to provide all necessary cold weather gear. Henry will also face the coldest game of his career, with his previous record being 22 degrees. Historically, Henry's best performances have come in warmer conditions, including his career-high 250-yard, 2-touchdown game in Houston in January 2021 when temperatures were 66 degrees. The Power Runner's 4-touchdown performance against the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2018 was in 44-degree weather. He also rushed for 238 yards during the dominant 30-9 victory. The cold will undoubtedly test the ex-Titans star. Despite the freezing conditions, Sunday's game doesn't crack the top 10 coldest NFL games of all time, which features a list led by the infamous Ice Bowl in 1967 between the Packers and Cowboys, -13 degrees at kickoff, and the Freezer Bowl in 1982's AFC Championship game between the Bengals and Chargers, -9 degrees, with a wind chill of -59 degrees. The Ravens and Bills last met in Week 4, with Baltimore earning a commanding 35-10 victory. Both teams are now led by MVP frontrunners, with Jackson eyeing his 3rd MVP award. The cold will undoubtedly play a significant role in this high-stakes rematch, with both teams looking to advance to the AFC Championship game. Bills QB Josh Allen admitted to not being fond of playing in the cold during 2022 before a matchup with the Patriots that reached 2 degrees. "It's not fun getting hit in the cold, it's not fun catching hard passes in the cold," he said. "Getting off the ground, it's a little more exhausting throughout the course of the game. Just trying to get used to that, and it's more of a mental barrier than it is a physical barrier, if anything." Zay Flowers' absence last weekend meant plenty of available snaps for some seldom-used Baltimore receivers, and the Ravens got the ball to almost all of them. "We have a bunch of depth and guys that can step up and make plays, and that are playing really good football," tight end Mark Andrews said. "We're counting on those guys to continue to make plays, step up and fit in different roles to help this offense go." Flowers did not practice Wednesday because of the knee injury that kept him out of last weekend's victory against Pittsburgh in Baltimore's playoff opener. Coach John Harbaugh said earlier this week Flowers could play this weekend at Buffalo even if he doesn't practice, but it's not clear how likely that is or how effective he'd be. Flowers' absence made Rashad Bateman the team's biggest threat at wide receiver, and he caught a touchdown pass on Baltimore's first possession, but the Ravens were more than willing to put their less heralded wideouts on the field. Tylan Wallace was in for 39 offensive snaps, the most of any Baltimore wide receiver. He caught a 21-yard pass on 2nd and 20 in the third quarter to help keep another touchdown drive alive. Nelson Agholor played 20 snaps after missing 3 games following a concussion. He had a 25-yard catch. Anthony Miller caught 3 passes in 9 snaps after being promoted from the practice squad, and punt returner Steven Sims played 13 offensive snaps, which included 1 rush for 15 yards. Even rookie wide receiver Devontae Walker played a couple of snaps after catching only 1 pass all season. The Ravens didn't seem to have any issues with their offensive operation while so many different receiver combinations were in the game. It was pretty smooth, quarterback Lamar Jackson said. Everyone being on the same page, just had everything flow smooth for us on the offensive side of the ball. Flowers was injured in the regular season finale against Cleveland. The second-year receiver caught 74 passes for 1,059 yards and 4 touchdowns during the regular season and earned Pro Bowl honors. He was the only player listed as missing practice Wednesday for the Ravens. In addition to all of their wide receivers, Baltimore also has a couple of dynamic pass catchers at tight end in Andrews and Isaiah Likely, plus Justice Hill and Derrick Henry, who can receive passes out of the backfield. But Flowers' speed and elusiveness are not easy to replace. It's a huge challenge. That's a guy been with us all season, been making things happen for us, Jackson said. The Ravens claimed wide receiver Deontay Johnson off waivers, a move that is deferred until after the Super Bowl. Johnson is set to be a free agent after the season, so this move could impact compensation. The Ravens waived Johnson last month. He caught on with Houston but was waived Tuesday by the Texans.